Greetings, and thank you for joining us at Spin a Yarn Live, the Tea Time Book Club and Crafting Circle. Today we will be discussing... I fall over.
Jim Butcher's Stormfront, the first in the Dresden Files series. So, little history on, well, not history on the series, but it is kind of a whodunit series starring Harry Dresden, who is a private investigator. Well, he's a wizard for hire in Chicago, but he's a wizard so he helps the, oh gosh.
Wow.
He's like a gumshoe.
Good job, all of us. So yeah, it's basic gumshoe whodunit series. It's a very good series, definitely in the urban fantasy category. So we will be discussing that today.
Just the first one. There are at present 15 books in the series. We eagerly await the 16th book, which still does not have a release date yet. Please, Mr. Butcher, we really like your series. Please keep writing.
Please have it out by the time we get there in this show.
We beseech you.
So at this point of the show, we invite you to send uploads of your project at #YarnItAll. I'm making a bookmark with that hashtag on it. It's taking a long time.
I'm still working on my barrel top, which has little lace bits here. But as you can see, I'm a lot farther along than I was last week, which is lovely.
If they see last week.
Indeed. Well, you know, that... Anyway.
You don't need to see last week.
It's fine.
So tell us what tea we have today.
So today we are drinking a tea. Hello, Osiris. We are drinking a tea that I got when we were in Charleston, South Carolina, about a month ago. It is from the Spice and Tea Exchange. Really cool store. They got all these shelves full of spices and curry and like all of this wonderfulness. And then in the back they have a couple of shelves for loose leaf tea. So today we are drinking the Chocolate Orange Decadence tea. Very decadent. It has a very rich flavor. It's very full. We are actually on the second steep of this particular tea because it's a loose leaf. You can steep loose leaves multiple times.
That's interesting. Yeah.
The hints of chocolate are actually pretty
subdued.
Pretty evident. Well,
evident.
I find it pretty evident. The orange I don't taste quite as much, although you can kind of see. You can kind of see in the bag there are rinds, little bits of orange rinds, which are these lighter colors. But it's a very nice tea. It goes.
Yeah, it's really well done.
It's a little bitter, so it goes great with just a little tray of sweets that we're using here. So the breakdown of the first in the Jim Butcher's Dresden Files series.
Okay, we are going to keep this to a 5-minute rundown of the series.
Not the series, the book.
No, the book.
The book. We're not gonna. So if you, this one is not going out live, but do not put spoilers in the comments of books after this one. We're of course, full disclosure, we'll be spoiling this one again. It's a whodunit. Cyrus did it.
Yeah.
So of course we'll be spoiling whodunit and all that jazz.
So we get introduced to. Not Jim Butcher. We get introduced to Harry Dresden, who, I don't know if you can see this, and it's going to take a while to catch up, so I don't know if you saw that. He never wears a hat. I think what happened is a TV show was made of this series that didn't do so well, and in that he always wore a hat, so this printing of the books, or the books that we have, they're putting hats on the front cover. I think that's kind of like a little call out to the show.
I don't recall. I do recall seeing previews for the show, which I think was on... I recall Netflix recommending it to me.
Oh, no.
And the guy who was apparently playing Harry, it was really weird, because in the book, he describes himself as a young-ish man. As we go forward in the series, you kind of get the idea of how old he is. I would guesstimate in this book he's in his late 20s.
Yeah.
I would guess, 28, 29, something like that.
I think it's 25-ish.
He's in he's in his 20s.
Yeah.
When I remember seeing the preview for the or the little, I don't know, poster thing that Netflix puts up, it was like a guy in his 40s with white hair.
Oh,
It's very strange. Because it has to be him, because the other people look like the characters that we get introduced to.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only character this guy could possibly have been was Harry. It looks terrible. Apparently, I think it only lasted like one season. It was really bad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But the series is good.
the series is very good.
So what happens in this book? First, we get introduced to Dresden.
He has a long name. His full name. Harry, I always mix it up. Harry Blackstone Copperfield Dresden or Copperfield Blackstone Dresden.
Harry Blackstone Copperfield Dresden.
Harry Blackstone Copperfield.
Conjure by it at your own risk. There's a line said a couple times in here.
It's said a couple times because since it's a fantastical book, part of it, which goes into a lot of like fae lore, is that if you know the true name of somebody or of a creature or whatever, and you speak their true name, like the exact way that they pronounce it and they say it, you can have a certain amount of control over them.
Yeah.
So throughout the entire series, he will only introduce himself to people as Harry Dresden. He doesn't usually give out his middle names. So in this particular book, we start off with a woman coming to him, basically looking for her husband. Her husband's gone missing. She suspects he's doing stuff with the occult. She brings a couple of things, including this scorpion talisman. It's like a dried up, dead husk of a scorpion that she brings. And, she, gives, not a real, I don't think she gives her real name at first. But, so he's like, okay, I'll see what I can do. He thinks it's just your average runaway husband type of thing. And then we get introduced to one of the characters that we see often in the series, which is Karen Murphy. Lieutenant Karen Murphy from the Boston PD, the not special victims unit. No.
Special investigations.
Thank you.
It's basically her department is the one that investigates anything paranormal, and she has to report back how it was not paranormal, even though it totally was.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of like how Scully from X-Files always kind of...
Was a skeptic. She was a skeptic.
Did things. Whereas Murphy is not a skeptic. She's actually one of the smart department heads because she actually hired the only wizard in the phone book. And you said Boston, it's actually Chicago.
Sorry. I was just watching Leverage. They're in Boston right now. Great show, by the way, Leverage.
Great show.
Highly recommend.
So, yes.
They were in Boston.
Whereas this takes place in Chicago.
He's in Chicago.
So
go ahead. So she calls him in because she's got two dead people, and they died. They died under mysterious circumstances. He goes in, and it looks like essentially their hearts have exploded out of their chests. So really gruesome. Really, really gruesome. And what I like about Jim Butcher's writing is that while he does not describe the gore in detail, he will describe in detail Harry's reaction. It's done from the first person, by the way, so it's always from Harry's perspective. Yeah. So, he describes how sick he gets, how he can smell the blood, and just how it really upsets him. Yeah. As someone who's dealt with dark arts and stuff like this, to understand that this is something that makes Harry uncomfortable. It's clearly not a pretty scene. Blood everywhere, all this stuff. So, of course, the individuals, their hearts have exploded outward, obviously. So, out of their chest.
Literally exploded out.
Ribs are out everywhere. There's blood all over the place. It's super nasty. So, of course, Karen Murphy is like, well, this has got to be some sort of magical do-floppy or whatever. So she calls in Harry, and Harry's like, oh, crap, okay. He's going to try to do it. But here's the thing with poor Harry. In the first book, we don't really get a look at... We've read all the books that are out, by the way, which again is 15 books at the moment, at the time of this recording. We don't get to know his exact backstory, but through this first book, you get the impression that he had teaching, he had schooling, he knows what he's kind of doing, but at some point something happened. He ended up killing his teacher. Yeah. Now, we don't exactly know how, from Harry's perspective, it sounds like he was defending himself, but it also sounds like there might have been other people involved. So,
and we do get that, obviously, using magic to kill someone is a bad thing.
Right, there are laws of magic.
It's kind of usually a one strike and you're dead sort of society, whereas
the White Council.
Because he was defending himself, he kind of got off under, and he's placed under, basically probation. Doom of Damocles or Democles.
Yes.
Doom of some sort of
I'm going to say yes, because while I could spell it to you, I'm not sure how it's supposed to be pronounced. Only Jim Butcher knows how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Well.
So we get this situation where Cyrus, stop that. Sorry. So we get this situation where he sees instantly that this was black magic.
Yeah.
Someone reached into these people and killed them using magic, which is the first rule of magic. You do not kill people, just flat out. Good rule. I think it's a good rule.
Good life rule.
Yes, good life rule. So of course he wants. Excuse me.
So Murphy wants to know how it happened, what type of person would do this, and wants him to figure out how it could have been done.
Or are you running long on this explanation?
Yeah, well. So, long story short, he needs to try and figure out how it's done, but not actually try and figure out how it's done, because otherwise it'll be seen as him doing black magic, at which case he would be immediately executed. So, he goes through investigations. We run into a million characters, most of which are important.
I've written them down. We'll get to them
later. And so he's investigating these two different cases.
Missing husband and exploding heart syndrome.
So the missing husband, he goes up to the lake house.
The woman who came to talk to him said, here's the lake house. Here's a key. I don't think she gave him a key, actually. But she said, here's the lake house. Maybe he's out there. So he's running around. He's trying to find the husband. He's also trying to figure out how someone could do this, how someone could reach inside someone and kill two people at the same time, which according to him is extremely difficult.
And the other big thing, well, especially with the heart exploding out of you thing, takes loads of power. But the other thing is the two victims, one was a prostitute working with a local vampiress, and the other was a hitman for a local gangster, Marcone, and we'll talk about him later too.
Mobster is a better term because it's definitely more.
What did I say? Oh, I say gangster.
You say gangster, which is
mobster.
Mobster.
The head mobster.
Al Capone. This universe's version,
I suppose. So that's a problem, and of course, anybody who would know them will not talk to the police. And Karen Murphy does not want him to interview these people. She only wants Dresden to figure out how the magic was done, to try and figure out who could do it. But
he's trying everything in his possible way to not look into how this black magic would actually work. So he does what any good gumshoe does. He walks the streets. He finds leads. He finds another woman who knew the prostitute. They used to work together with Bianca, with the vampiress.
Yeah. Under
her, because she's like she's the head of the Velvet Room.
Yes.
So he finds her. He gets some information. He gets some leads. This girl winds up dead as well. Bodies are adding up. Murphy, of course, is pissed because she wants the information, and Harry's not working on the information.
And there's a lot of things that he cannot tell her.
He can't tell her. So it put her in danger. That kind of situation. So he's running through.
Which is exactly what she's trying to do, is keep him out of danger.
Right.
So tensions get strained between them.
Right, tensions do get strained, but we'll get into that particulars in a minute. Yeah. So reading through the book, it's a really good whodunit because you can kind of see the clues as they add up, and probably 2/3 of the way, maybe even less through the book, you kind of figure out pretty quick it's clearly the missing husband who's doing all of these terrible things. How exactly he's doing it, well, we're still getting to that point. But at any rate, he figures out where he's doing it. It is at the lake house. He goes and confronts them. big epic finale that's actually pretty cool to read. His storytelling is very evocative, again, coming from Harry's perspective. And so the bad guy doesn't really get caught, but he does get killed. But, throughout the story, Harry's warden is on his ass. The warden from the White Council, so it's another wizard, who's watching him, making sure he's not doing all this stuff. He's very suspicious of his actions, looking into the black magic, thinks he's the one who's doing the deed.
Yeah.
And follows him and watches him and everything. End of the book, figures out, okay, fine, you didn't do it. It pisses me off that you didn't do it because I really want to kill you. He hates him.
Yeah.
But he didn't do it.
Because, he feels like Harry got off on a technicality, but is still an evil wizard who happened to get off.
Right.
Which most of the White Council feels. Harry's life is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the basic rundown of...
the book. Again, it's a pretty classic whodunit.
Yeah.
There are enough clues that the reader can figure it out in their own time. Or you can just immerse yourself in the story and allow it to go. And there are a few red herrings. At one point you think, well, maybe it's the wife. And even Harry thinks it's the wife. And, turns out he's wrong, blah, 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 all this stuff. So, it's a good book.
Yes. It's a really good series.
It's a lot of fun. I know you want to talk about the series.
No, I'm not talking about series.
You keep saying series.
I know.
So let's focus on just Stormfront. Stormfront, aptly named. So, Jim Butcher likes puns.
He does.
Not
as much as some...
Not as much as some writers that we'll get into. But he definitely likes a lot of puns. So, the title of the book usually has to do with what's going on in the book itself. So this one, for instance, Harry's really caught up on the idea of how could one wizard possibly conjure enough power to kill two people from not even having an eye shot. No one else was in this room. It was in a hotel room, very lavish, all this stuff. Clearly the killer was nowhere in sight, so how could this possibly happen? But wizards can draw a lot of energy from the elements around them. So Stormfront, there have been a lot of really strong thunderstorms around Chicago lately. Harry figures out that the wizard is drawing on the pure raw power of the thunderstorm to kill these people. He's drawing the power from that to kill these people at a distance, having, only genetic material, hair, toenails, or fingernails, whatever. That kind of stuff.
Basically what the pop culture feels voodoo dolls are like.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. A lot of fantasy series use that kind of thaumatology, I believe it's called.
The book has now been obstructed.
That's fine.
By our large cat. My lady. So in very quick succession, I'm talking within the first 5 chapters, and the short chapters, maybe 10, 15 pages, we are introduced to a lot of people. First and foremost, like I said, Karen Murphy. Dresden's essentially liaison through the police force. Not overly trustworthy of him, really. Her partner, Lieutenant Carmichael, whose first name I have forgotten.
Yeah.
I don't think it said in the first book what his first name was. He just calls him Carmichael. So we're introduced to him. Harry goes from the crime scene back to his office, which is a couple blocks down the road, and we meet one of the next big players in this series, Gentleman Johnny Marcone. So he is the head mobster.
Yeah. And he rose to power very quickly because what he did is he cleaned up the streets and organized the crime, so now the crime is all much more efficient.
The cops they don't tend to look the other way, but of course Marcone's got enough lawyers on his bill pay that they can't get him on anything. But he's the only big name in town.
Yeah.
So one of the leads that the cops try to focus on is this drug that seems to be going through the streets of Chicago that Johnny is not responsible for. It's called Third Eye, and it's supposedly some sort of...
Three Eye.
Three Eye. Excuse me. 3 Eye. And it's supposedly this kind of potion or drug. They don't really say exactly how it's taken, if you inject it into yourself or ingest it or whatever. They don't get into the particulars of it. But the idea is like a lot of young people. It's hard to say whether the magical world is common knowledge or not. It's more like Harry Potter's universe of it's a separate world that I shouldn't say that, because in Harry Potter they actively try to hide.
Yeah.
At this point they make a note of, you don't see us, so we don't see you, kind of a thing. If you're not looking right, if you're not looking for a fairy or a fae, you might just see a ladybug, kind of like Fablehaven. Ignorance is safe.
Safety.
Yeah. Not bliss, but ignorance is safe. If you don't see it, it can't really hurt you if you can't really acknowledge it.
Yeah.
It's not a solid rule, but it helps.
Yeah, it's definitely less solid than Fablehaven, which is very strongly, you don't see me, I don't see you.
Right, and we'll get into Fablehaven at another point.
Absolutely.
Also a good series. This one is just your general sci-fi fantasy. You can find it in the fantasy section of Barnes & Noble and other bookstores and whatever. But Fablehaven is actually in the kids section. Not even young adult. I'm talking in the kids section with Harry Potter. Yeah, Harry Potter, what is it? The Lightning Thief,
Peter Jackson?
No, Peter Jackson directed the Lord of the
Yes, that's also a very fantastical person.
But in any case, so it is a book geared towards adults essentially, because again, a lot of the scenes, while he doesn't get into detail, they are very evocative.
Yeah.
For instance, after we get introduced to Johnny Marcone, lead mobster and all that jazz, and he's a recurring character, Harry goes to actually look at the lake house, and while he's there, that's where we get introduced to Morgan, who is his warden from the White Council. Not a nice guy. A lot of the characters, Paul had mentioned this earlier, a lot of the characters in the books, as you read through the series, even someone like Johnny Marcone, who is a villain, I mean, let's be honest, he's a mobster, you know, he buys and sells people, he buys and sells drugs, you know, runs arms, that kind of stuff. He has likable qualities. He's someone you can sympathize with. Morgan, I don't like Morgan. Morgan's a straight up jerk, and just kind of like, I must follow the law at all costs, there's no gray, it's all black and white.
Yeah.
You just want to smack her upside the face. Which I think is the idea.
And Harry does.
And he does.
At one point.
Yeah. Which takes Morgan totally by surprise. So part of it is Harry is a wizard through and through. In this book we learn that his father was a magician. Yeah. Now we don't know, and his mom wasn't really there. So we don't really know, did he inherit his magic from his mom, from his dad, or was he just born with it? You know, kind of like in Harry Potter, how you have people who
were born magical from Muggle families.
Right, you know, like Hermione. But he's very tall. We're never actually given, you know,
Harry's
6'5" or anything like that. He's always described as being very tall, and people mention how tall he is. But he is very lanky, he's very wiry. Yeah. Morgan, on the other hand, is about as tall as Harry, but he work out.
Yeah.
So he's more built. He's also, the idea is he's got to be older. In this particular universe, much like I think in Harry Potter, although I feel like in Harry Potter it's more their magical medicine is so good that people just live longer. In this one, true wizards can live to be like 400 or 500 years old, provided they don't get killed by
which most of them do.
So I think the idea is that Morgan's got to be in his late double digits. I don't think he's 100, but I think he's in the 90s. Also because of the way he looks.
Or, early triple digits.
Or early, you know, 110 or something like that.
Yeah, because he has the trust of the council because he carries out the justice of the council with his sword.
We don't get a lot about the sword quite yet, but Harry hints at the fact that it is magical or mystical in some manner.
Yeah. So when Morgan has the sword out, Harry's basically treating Morgan kind of like kind of like he's the White Council, because he kind of is. But then when it's clear that Morgan is not actually going to kill him for what he did, and we'll talk about that in a second, and puts the sword away, that's when he does something to Dresden, and Dresden's like, well, when you're acting in the council's behalf, you will get respect that the council deserves. When you're not, you're just being a
You're just
person.
kind of being a thug,
Yeah.
which...
Or a bully, yeah.
Yeah, because Morgan, does not... He shows pure disdain. He does not like Harry. He does not trust him. He doesn't believe that he defended himself when he killed someone using his own magic. Which, again, we don't get to know the details just yet.
Yeah.
So we get introduced to Morgan, who is a terrible person. But actually, right before we're introduced to Morgan, we're introduced to Toot Toot.
Toot Toot.
That's not his real name.
No.
Harry summons him. He is a 6-inch tall fairy.
Yeah.
Dragonfly, clear wings. He shows himself as male. We kind of learn later in the series that the Fae can show themselves however they like. Yes, there are male and female, but if they want to appear male, then they totally can. If they want to appear female, then they totally can. If they want to be a young beauty, they can. If they want to be an old crone, they can. Because they talk about, later in the books, they talk about the idea of glamour and where that comes from.
Which is also pretty popular with fairy creatures in a lot of series.
In a lot of stories, yeah. And I think it stems back to the Grimm's fairy tales and all that jazz. So anyway, we're introduced to Toot Toot, who, because he's a fairy that just kind of wanders around, he was by the lake house. Yeah. So Harry's asking if he saw anything, any information, stuff like that. And that's mainly what Toot Toot's role is throughout the series.
For information gathering, yeah.
It's definitely information gathering, because he's got friends that he can talk to, and like Fae networking.
Yeah, and they love pizza.
They love pizza, absolutely. That's how Harry rewards them, is he always buys them pizza.
Yeah.
So they love him because he gives them pizza.
Yeah, so it's interesting because in doing this, we also get the summoning circle type thing, where if you draw a circle and infuse it with a little bit of magic, pure magic creatures cannot really get through. Of course, the stronger they are, the more ornate your circle needs to be. But to summon, or to call Toot Toot and trap him, all Harry did was draw a circle in the ground, and then put a little trap in there with some food. So Toot Toot will come around, picked up the food, and by doing so, made the circle become active, and then he got trapped inside. And had to barter with information to get out. In the fairy world, it's all about give and take. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. There's always a bargain. You have to strike a bargain with someone. So Toot Toot is a great character to introduce for this particular area of magic that Harry works with, because it's kind of a non-threatening situation. He's just looking for information from this small fairy, and because he is a small fairy, he's not he's not a named fae that most people know. So he's under the radar here. You can kind of ask some questions without getting too much into trouble. Yeah. I say too much because, Harry gets into a lot of trouble. Yeah. It's actually really fun. But anyways, so after Toot Toot and we met Morgan. We get introduced. I think after that, that's when we find Susan Rodriguez. Yeah. Well, yeah, because Dresden goes to Mac's bar.
Mac!
And we don't know
I didn't write down Mac. Mac!
He has this fantastic tavern with the whole inside is ornate, but a complete mess to navigate, specifically to interfere with magical powers of everyone just walking through, just your kind of body heat, your natural magical emanations, having so many magic users in one place, because it's a bar for magic users, could cause a lot of trouble. So it's all set up in a way to disrupt those patterns.
Right.
And Mac is the big, silent type.
Yeah, he's, again, like Harry, he's tall and gangly and doesn't look much. You know, but his tavern is like a microbrewery, so he makes a whole lot of beer, and he has this big wood cooking stove behind the bar, and he cooks food there and stuff, and it's a nice place to come and meet. And lesser magical beings like Harry is a full-fledged wizard.
Yeah.
Okay, but in this universe, you can have lesser wizards. You can have people who have a little bit of magical talent. And so they can do a little bit of stuff, but they can't do stuff like summon demons or really focus their energy. And
part of being a full-fledged wizard is being on the White Council.
Yes.
So if you don't get on the White Council, you're technically not a wizard.
Yeah, I mean...
so in theory, you can kind of be near Dresden's level without being on the council, but
that breeds problems.
That breeds problems, and you have to...
The council will find you.
Yeah, so you need to avoid that.
Yeah. So we go down there, and Mac is another recurring character, because it's a good place to go for Harry to, one, unwind, because of the way, as Paul was saying, the way the tavern is designed. It is designed really strongly around the number 13, which I don't recall if they really explain it, but there's 13 tables, there are 13 pillars, there are 13 stools at the bar.
There's 13 ceiling fans that you have to duck.
Yeah, well, Harry has to duck. Again, kind of hinting to how he is very tall. He's over 6 foot, obviously. I don't think, maybe he's close to 7. Further along, way down in the series, we do learn that he gets his height mainly from his dad, who is also very, very tall, but again, not sure exact height there. So Harry can kind of go there to kind of relax a little bit. They don't mention it being a neutral zone in the first book.
But they have really good burgers.
Really good steak burgers.
Harry is poor, always behind on his rent.
And
when he got these 2 cases and advances for them, he decided to treat himself by going there.
Yeah, the woman who was looking for her husband went ahead and paid him up front, I think $500.
Yeah.
To go and look around, try to find her husband and all that jazz.
So then we meet.
So then I think after that is when we meet Bianca.
Well, first we meet Susan Rodriguez.
Oh, Susan, yes, because
she follows him into the bar, and she is a reporter for one of these kind of...
It's a newspaper called The Arcane.
Yeah, which is kind of like a tabloid newspaper.
Right, no one really takes it seriously, but again, it kind of, in my opinion, kind of blurs the line in this series as to whether or not magic is sort of kind of known, but then sort of kind of not. Kind of thing, like the 3-eye drug. The idea behind the 3-eye drug is it helps to open your third eye, and you can truly see what's there.
And we find out in this book that it actually does do that, because somebody who was hopped up on 3-eye saw Dresden.
And starts yelling, "Wizard! I see! He who walks behind, who is a character, who is not really a character, but we'll get into that later." Who stalks Harry and all this stuff, and Harry's clearly uncomfortable by this, and oh god, if this stuff really works.
That's a big problem.
Because the idea is that, like in the series Fablehaven, if you can't see it, ignorance helps to keep you safe. But this
also opening your third eye lets you see kind of all the details and the meanings of things and how everything's put together in a magical sense, but it's also unforgettable. Anything you see when your third eye is open will always be there, always fresh, for the rest of your life.
So if you happen to unluckily see a hideous demon, that image is going to stick with you forever.
And if
time's
you're
not going to dull it, new memories aren't going to dull it.
Yeah. So if you're just a regular person hopping up on this drug, that could just ruin your life because you're not prepared to deal with those sites.
So we meet Susan.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, she's obviously a very sultry, kind of seductive woman. She is Latino or Hispanic.
Yeah.
She's from Mexico or somewhere. You can tell by his description of her dark skin and her eyes and her very straight hair, and all that stuff. And she is very flirtatious with our male lead here.
Yeah.
She knows he's a wizard. She knows he's a wizard because he's in the phone book. He is in the phone book.
And they also shared eye contact. Another thing in this universe, which is pretty much only in this universe, is the soul gazing, where if you lock eyes with wizard for too long, you basically can see through each other's windows to the soul, see each other's soul, and like everything that goes on about them. So Marcone forced this to happen when we first meet Marcone, and we get to join Harry looking into Marcone's soul. And
Harry was kind of put back because Marcone is very cold,
very organized, but very powerful.
Yes.
He will keep on moving forward.
I think Harry describes him as like a tiger, essentially. Like, knows that nothing can really take him out.
And he does see that there's like a dark corner of the mind which he couldn't see into, but which is what gives Marcone all of his resolve. So Susan, at some point in the past, soul gazed Harry, and
she ended up passing out.
She ended up passing out. We don't know what they see when they look inside Harry.
Right.
But so
everything's from his perspective. So.
She knows for a fact that he's a wizard.
Right. And she probably also, because of the way that she flirts with him, that he's essentially a good guy.
Yeah.
And she kind of tricks him. It's actually a very funny scene, and I love Susan. I think she's a great character. She kind of tricks him into going out on a date with her, and he's like, wait, what? He's very confused.
Oh, yeah, because he's refusing to give him any information on the
murders that he's
investigating. Mm-hmm. So he decides he's just going to say no to any question she asks. So she's like, you know, is this person involved? No. Is blah, 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 blah. And it's always no, 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 no. Would you mind going out with me on Saturday? No. What?
Yeah. So she kind of tricks him into going out with her.
The whole Bugs Bunny routine.
Right. Yeah, you know, it's duck season, it's rabbit season. And so he's like, she kind of leaves him in this blinking, just what the hell is happening? She leaves. And Mac is a man of few words. And he just says, stupid. And he's like, and Harry's like, she's a very intelligent woman. And he goes, not her.
You.
And Harry's like, So after we meet up with Susan,
then we get Bianca.
So
yeah, Harry goes to talk to Bianca because he knows that she won't talk to the police, and even though he's been forbidden by Murphy to talk to Bianca, he does it anyways because that's who he is.
He doesn't really listen to authority.
Yeah.
So he goes, she runs a brothel, essentially, called the Velvet Room. And Johnny Marcone's, one of his muscle men, who is Tommy Tom, was the one who was sleeping with the girl, and those are the two that got killed. So Harry's following the lead. Well, okay, it was one of Bianca's girls, so let me go talk to Bianca.
Yeah.
He's terrified of this because she is a full-fledged vampire.
Yeah. So
he goes to speak with her, and we learn a couple of things about vampire lore. For instance, crucifix or, crosses as such don't really deter them. What matters is a symbol of your faith.
Yeah, so Harry does not have much faith in Big G,
Almighty.
Christian God.
Yeah, because he's I never just seen
but he has a lot of faith in magic, so one of his talismans, I don't know if it mentioned where he got it, is... That's a hand-me-down from his mother. Okay, so it's hand-me-down from his mother, and it's a circle with a pentagram in it.
So it's a pentacle, which is what that is. So he has a silver pentacle, which he says later in the book his dad gave him, and it had belonged to his mother.
And this symbol basically represents the elements of magic.
Yeah, so you got earth, fire, water, air, and spirit.
Yeah.
Those are the 5 points of magic. So the pentacle, being the 5 points in the circle, represents the balance that is needed in order to be an in-control wizard.
Yeah.
And not
So,
the other things.
yeah, he has
So that's
complete faith in magic, so he's able to repel her when she attacks because she thought he was the one who murdered, because he's the only
wizard in town.
First of all, he's the only wizard out to the public.
Right.
Because he's in the white pages as wizard for hire.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, nobody believes that he's an actual wizard, but...
Yellow pages. White pages is for residential.
Okay. Yellow pages. So she thinks he did it, attacks, he uses
his
talisman, and then...
And he also has this clean, white, folded handkerchief, which, through magical stuff that he doesn't really reveal, he actually kept a bit of sunlight in.
Yeah.
He visits her at night, obviously, vampire.
Yeah.
So, when he opens it up, it produces this brief flash of sunlight. So, along with his pentacle and that brief flash of sunlight, it rips Bianca's disguise, her kind of glamour. So when we're first introduced to her, we're given a very evocative feel of what she is. I mean, we're talking curves and this slinky black dress, beautiful porcelain white skin, raven-colored hair, like, dark brown eyes, all this loveliness, and these heels and gloves all the way up past her elbow, and just this image of glamour and fabulousness. And she tries to attack Harry, and the illusion, it's not really an illusion because she kind of pulls this skin on her.
Yeah.
But so he's ripped through this mask that she
And
wears.
we see this kind of bat demonish creature.
Right. So she basically looks like a bat in the face. She's got big, rubbery wings, very gangly and stuff. Kind of like there was a movie, I think it was the Nosferatu movie, if I remember correctly, but where you see, instead of the suave, glorious, beautiful image of a vampire that, a lot of people are kind of used to seeing in fictional things.
Nowadays,
we see more, they are demons. Yeah. Vampires are not some sort of glamorous version of a human. These are demons.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. That's not mentioned in this book, so I'm not going to bring
it up. So deals with that, gets the information. But yeah, now Harry has another enemy because she's very upset that he
saw what she truly was.
Yes.
Because her line of work, obviously, beauty.
Yeah.
And the idea of, she can manipulate people with her beauty.
Yeah.
Is something that she holds very strongly to.
So we don't see any result of that in this book, but she does say, "You will pay for this."
Yeah, she is.
Before sending him away with his information.
And one thing we learn as he's leaving, because she calls in another person during her attack, she does clip him against his neck, so he is bleeding, and this does cause a reaction in her. She tells him to cover it and then tells him to get out because she's gonna lose her control pretty soon. And so we see another person go in and she licks their arm. And when she licks their arm, the individual is automatically kind of thrown into these spasms of pleasure, essentially. So Harry kind of sees, he's freaking out. Clearly freaking out. But he has a cool logical side to his brain who's cataloging this stuff going, okay, so it looks like that there's some sort of addictive
aphrodisiac-ish
something
sort of
that's arousing the individual, and they're just giving themselves to Bianca.
Which is what also freaks him out because it's a sort of mind control bit. It's not completely, but it's bordering on mind control, which is another big thing you do not do.
Right. You don't control people with magic, you don't kill them with magic, you don't do anything like that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we've met a few characters, we've got 15 minutes left. So another character we're introduced to, who's a recurring character, who's snarky, is Bob the Skull.
Bob the Skull.
So when we go and see Harry's apartment, he lives in this, I think he says it's an old Victorian house, but I can't remember. But it's a house. It's a large house that's been subdivided into apartments, and he is in the basement and has access to the sub-basement as well.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I'm the only one with 2 floors, but it still kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And since he is a wizard, technology, doesn't really work very well. Because like Paul was saying, when he goes to Mac's Tavern, because of the 13 and the way the pillars are, you have to weave around stuff. It kind of disperses the magic.
Yeah.
But an agitated enough wizard or someone with a strong enough magical tendency who kind of loses control a little bit, those ceiling fans will kind of flare up and not work right.
Yeah.
So Harry has big problems with phones not working right when he's trying to call people. Light bulbs will often burst. Electrical stuff will kind of go crazy around him. The typical, because your magical energy is not compatible with modern technology, and the more modern, the worse. It messes it up a lot.
Yeah, and he does in a later book explain a little bit why that is, and we'll talk about it at that point.
Yeah. But so when we go to his house, and he has a giant cat bigger than Osiris, named Mister. And he's just kind of an indoor-outdoor cat that kind of adopted Harry, more or less. And he takes care of him. And in his sub-basement is where his lab is, so where he produces potions and spells and more complicated stuff. That's where his apothecary is, essentially. And down there, he has a clean, white, bleached human skull. And the skull serves as a vessel for a spirit of intellect.
Spirit,
yeah, an air spirit, which he refers to as a spirit of intellect. And his name is Bob.
Bob.
Have you ever seen Blackadder? Bob.
And he's been passed. We're told he's been passed down through some wizard, so he's accumulated a lot of knowledge.
He's basically, the way Harry describes him is, he is Harry's computer, because he's capable of storing all this knowledge, and of course he can extract the knowledge from him.
Yeah.
But he's also a spirit, which means he's not like a computer who will usually do what you tell it to do.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Like other Fae and other spirits, Bob usually wants something in return. So, in this case, Harry Harry gets home and he's had a rough day, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, but he doesn't want to sleep. He's too frazzled or whatever. Potion making tends to calm him down. So he's like, all right, I want to make a teleportation, kind of quick escape potion. And Bob's like, okay, well, I will help you, because he knows the best ingredients. Like, you can make a potion out of almost anything, but certain ingredients will work better. And because Bob has been passed down from so many other practitioners who have, experimented and done their own things, he usually knows the best combination of things to make the best teleportation spell.
But he demands that Harry, at the same time, because the way that the recipes work out, it's usually just as easy to make 2 potions as 1.
Yeah.
So Bob demands, because he's making fun of Harry, that Harry makes a love potion as well.
He's making fun of him for kind of, sort of, not really getting a date with Susan, but he's meeting with Susan. Bob's like, hey.
Yeah.
So
Bob is a bit of a pervert.
Bob is not a bit of a pervert. Bob is a pervert.
A massive pervert.
He is pretty bad. So, anyway. So, yeah, he tells him, he's like, all right, you have to make this. I'm not going to give you the ingredients to teleportation spell unless you promise to make the love potion. And Harry kind of mulls it up, and he's like, well, I don't actually intend to use it. I'm not going to actually give it to anyone, let alone Susan. Fine, whatever. All right, I will make them both. So Bob's like, all right, cool.
And the interesting thing about potion making in Dresden is each piece, you do, 5 or 6 pieces that represent different things.
So there are 8 ingredients in total, and 5 are for each sense.
Yeah.
So each, of your 5 senses. 1 is for your spirit. Again, the idea of the pentacle of the 5 points. Yeah. I just said 6. Ignore that. Yeah. And then one of them has to do with, he said 8 ingredients basically, but I can't remember the exact details. Yeah. But so anyway, So he makes them, and he gets his teleportation spell. And Harry's like, sweet, this will serve as like a nice quick getaway if I need it for whatever. I'm obviously looking at some pretty dark stuff. And then he makes the love potion as well, and he just leaves it downstairs. He's not going to get any with it. So in the course, so he makes a date with Susan. And so Susan comes by his apartment for the date.
And at this point, Harry's already been beat up a lot, had a lot of run-ins, managed to accidentally get somebody else, the woman who worked with the woman who was killed.
Not yet.
Yeah, that's the first time Susan comes to the apartment.
Yeah, but Susan comes at the same time that he's supposed to meet Linda. Linda's supposed to come to the apartment.
That's what I was talking about.
Right, but we don't know that she's dead yet.
I didn't say that.
Sounded like we were going to.
No, I was saying spoilers.
I said spoilers.
I know.
We already revealed who done it.
So he managed to accidentally have Linda come over at the same time Susan was supposed to come over.
He forgot about Susan's date.
And he was beat up, probably has a concussion.
Yes, that's right. Someone attacked him outside his home. He doesn't know who he suspects Marcone, because Marcone tries to bribe him to lay off the case of the people who died. Because again, Tommy Tom was one of the guys who died, who works for Johnny, and Johnny wanted to figure out who it was by himself and deal with the whole situation. So Harry's like, I'm not sure if Johnny sent this guy with a baseball bat who smacked him upside the head, sent him, or if the person who's actually committing these murders sent him.
Yeah, so Susan comes over and he's a complete mess.
Oh, he hasn't even showered.
So he's dealing with that when
all this, so a storm kicks up,
yeah.
Right? It's raining, it's terrible. He hasn't made the connection yet that the storm is what's powering these deaths. But so he goes to shower because he's a complete and total mess.
And then during the shower, there's a noise at the door, knock on the door, or something, and he realizes, oh yeah, Linda was supposed to be coming over, and my date Susan is here. That's
so he's like,
not going to be good. So he runs out of the shower with towel on, suds in his hair still, as Susan's opening the door, and on the other side is a big frog demon.
It's not big. I mean, it comes up to like, Susan is not supposed to be tall. She's probably my height, which is about 5'6". And so there's this little squat thing in a trench coat, standing there. Susan doesn't really know what it is because she can't see it properly yet. But so anyway, so Harry's like, get away. She does scream. She does scream because she's like, what the heck is this? So Harry's like, get away from the door, and the thing kind of vomits this acid or venom essentially at him, and he uses
wind to blow it back at the demon.
Well, the first time his couch gets destroyed, he doesn't manage to defend anything. He ducks behind his couch, and his couch gets totally drenched in the nastiness. And then he yells at Susan she's kind of like back into a corner, like freaking out, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, you get down into the sub-basement where it's a little bit safer. And she's like, okay. So she runs down there, and Harry then he uses wind, he's trying to defend himself, do all this stuff. And she's freaking out, and he's like, okay, my teleportation potion is down there in his big duster, big canvas duster that he wears. He's like, drink the potion. There's a potion down there in a squeeze bottle. And she's like, okay, I found it. And he's like, okay, drink it.
You know exactly what's happening.
You can see you can see it in your brain. And he's like, okay, think of anywhere but here. And a few moments later, she goes, what's supposed to happen now? And he's like, why is she still here? And he's like, he's trying to get all this stuff done and all this craziness. And so she comes upstairs and she's got this 38 special, which is a revolver. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna shoot the demon. And Harry's trying to tell her not to do it. And she shoots him 6 times. Only 3 of the bullets actually hit him, but because it's a demon and bullets don't really work against this, they just kind of ricochet off of him. So of course Harry's like, this is gonna cause even more trouble than anything.
Yeah.
And
so they both flee down to the.
They both go downstairs. And he's like, what the hell? What happened? Why didn't the teleportation spell work? He's trying to figure it out.
Well, what happens is first thing he clears off a corner that has junk in it. But what happened is he in the past engraved like with gold and copper and something. You can go
Copper.
530.
It's a
big
copper
circle.
ring. It's a copper ring. It's about 3 feet in diameter. So again, good for summoning. But in this case, he doesn't want the demon to get in. So they both run into the circle, and he uses his energy to close the circle, and the demon can't get in and can't get his venom in there and whatnot. And at this point, Susan is like, "Why are you naked?" Because remember, he was in the shower. So at some point during all of this, his towel falls off, and she's like, "Oh my god!" And Harry's like, "Oh my god!" So they're sitting there, and she's like, "What do we do now?" And he says, "Well, we have to wait until morning, because with the sun rising, it will sever the connection of this demon, who has a corporeal form at the moment. It's kind of weird. You can summon a demon, but not in its actual form. So what we see, which is best described, what he describes it as like a squat toad-like demon, is not really what the demon looks like. That's just the skin it's chosen to wear. But when the sun rises, the tether...
Yeah, so definitely in this universe, another interesting thing is the sun. I don't think sunset does it as much, but sunrise is this big cleansing wave, and you don't have to be, outside or see the sun or anything. It's just kind of this new day.
It's a restart.
Or every day is a new day sort of feeling that's been happening for, millennia, that it's kind of infused the world with this magic that each morning all the magic kind of gets reset. Any long-term magic gets worn down a little bit, which makes it hard to do enchantments that last for a very long time. We figure out how to do those in later books. But for a demon summoning, a demon basically comes into this world from the Never Never. I think they mentioned the name.
They mentioned the name Never Never.
And basically has a tether back to the Nether.
So she's kind of forgotten about the whole danger situation, and Harry's totally naked, and she's wearing this lovely dress because of their date and everything.
And another thing about circles, these magic circles, is part of spirits not being able to go through them. If something physical passes through them, like if you put your hand through it, or somebody throws a rock through the circle, it breaks the circle and that barrier disappears.
Right, so if any part of them, even like a toe or even their hair, gets outside the circle, then the barrier is broken and the demon can get in.
Yeah.
So Harry is wrestling with Susan because she's trying to pull him down to the ground so that they can do stuff, and he's like, "Oh my god." And Bob finds this rather amusing. So, because Bob is down in the basement, and he's just like, "Oh, well, she got the potions mixed up," and Harry's like, "I see that!" And he's like, "Help me out here, Bob. Do you see the actual teleportation potion, which is in a very similar squeeze bottle, sitting on the table?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I see it over there." And he's like, "Well, why didn't you give it to me?" And so he's contained within the skull.
And Harry has to give him permission to leave to grab the container and throw it to him.
Right. So at this point, Bob, again, as a spirit of the wind, is like, "Okay, well, if I get to be out, I want to actually be out. I want a 24-hour pass, essentially." So he gets to leave and be out for 24 hours.
It's implied the last time they did this, there was a huge party at the local college.
It is a college.
It is a college.
It's a frat party. That's what we'll use. Frat party, which turned into...
more. So, well, what's interesting here is they make the deal and Bob comes out, throws the potion at Harry and Susan, and then goes off to do his 24 hours. But it's interesting, I guess maybe because Dresden gave him permission, he was able to throw a physical thing through the circle, because...
He gave him permission to... He said, "You can leave the circle for 24 hours if you throw me the canister," because he is a wind spirit,
or
an air spirit.
Did Dresden break the circle before the pushing got to them? Because obviously if any spirit can just throw something physical through a circle and break it, then the circles don't do anything
Right.
Oh, sorry.
The circle does get broken, and he drinks it really quickly. But the demon is, the demon was paying attention to them, but was kind of waiting.
Right.
And
waiting for them to do something, not for a potion ball to. But I'm just wondering how Bob managed to throw a physical thing through the circle.
That's a very good question. Maybe it's a plot hole.
It could be a plot hole.
Fine, just make sure you give me the potion. You have 24 hours.
Very exciting YouTubing. Watching someone read.
It does look like it's not addressed, the circle being broken.
Yeah. So I'm going to assume that Harry broke the circle as the potion bottle was coming at it and was just well timed. Because otherwise that's a big plot hole.
It is a big plot hole, but there's a whole dialogue between Harry and Susan because she's like, I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, and the demon is watching, ready to leap. Oops.
Yeah.
There's a similar thing that happens earlier, which I mentioned to you, in which when Harry goes to speak to Bianca, he uses, his pentacle as his talisman to keep her away, and then he throws it on the table to be like, I just want to talk. And it doesn't ever say that he picked it back up again. But he does have it.
Yeah. And things got hectic, so it's just weird thing.
So, but it's his first book.
Yeah.
This is the first book that Jim Butcher wrote and was published. So,
yeah.
Whatever. We'll leave it. It's fun. So anyway, so they teleport outside, essentially. They kind of diffuse into all these little bubbles, and they go outside. And so the demon freaks out. He's like, oh my god, where'd my target go? So he goes and he's like ripping up Harry's apartment, and Harry's like, okay, we need to figure something out before the demon realizes that we're out here. And then it comes out here. So he's naked again. Bear in mind.
Bear in mind.
He's naked. She's wearing this lovely kind of almost evening gown type thing and is totally gone. Although now she's had the other potion. So now what's happened is the potions are not reacting well. And Susan does physically get ill. So they can't really get away. They were trying to get to a road that floods often, and the idea is that the running water will help to protect them, which is common in a lot of vampire lore. That running water will prevent them. Prevent the demon or whatever from getting to
I don't know if it's mentioned in the Dresden books, but yeah, it's kind of that similar thing because running water purifies kind of why you wash your hands under running water.
Right, and it does mention that.
But it's another force that breaks magic and breaks enchantments.
It's because, again, it's a cleansing thing like the rising of the sun of a new dawn. It's a cleansing kind of a ritual purity of it. So anyway, so they're like, oh my god, so Harry is trying to get Susan to this road. They're kind of halfway through the woods. They're close to the road, but she's totally collapsed. I mean, she's vomited a couple of times at this point. She's convulsing in pain, and she passes out at one point. And Harry is injured and tired and is just, oh my god. So, of course, the worst possible time, this shadow man kind of appears. And this guy who's talking was like, why are you so annoying? And it doesn't take a couple of lines to figure out, well, this is the guy clearly doing the murdering. Yep. This is the guy who's killing people by making their hearts explode out of their chests. And Harry's like, oh my god, I don't have time for this. And the guy's like, oh, my demon's gonna come for you, and blah, 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 blah. And Harry focuses his energy and essentially, without even really moving at all, smacks him upside the face. The person's not physically there, they're projecting like a holographic image is the way they describe it.
Yeah.
And smacks him. And the guy kind of freaks out. How did you do that? And Harry's
like, and
I went to school.
Yeah, it's a very interesting scene because Harry figures out pretty quickly that this person
has not
a wizard. He has a lot of power, but he has absolutely no training.
No training. He's clearly only self-taught. He doesn't know anything about the White Council, all this stuff. Because otherwise he would know about the magical laws saying you don't kill people, otherwise you get dead yourself.
Yeah, so how he got the correct occult books to teach himself magic is a question that isn't answered. But...
So, yeah. So Harry puts this together. He's like, okay, well, this person clearly doesn't have a lot of training. So I might not be more powerful in terms of raw power, but I have skill. You know?
I feel like Harry's still more powerful. Like, he doesn't realize it at first, but then he realizes that the guy was using the storm to create... to do the magic.
But Harry talks about how extraordinarily dangerous it is to do that, because... Yes. I mean, you're opening yourself up to the raw elements of this storm, of practically every bit of nature interacting with itself. Yeah. You've got wind, water, fire in the lightning aspect, and then all of it smacking the earth in this, incredible symphony of sound and smell and all of this stuff. So a storm is a really, really powerful conduit that you can pull energy.
But also very dangerous to try and pull. Like, I'll just plug my phone into this nuclear reactor, it'll be fine. I can charge it up in no time.
Yeah, great! So the guy is like, whatever, my demon is going to kill you, and right as the thunder claps, the guy calls the demon. So we don't get to hear the demon's name. So he doesn't hear the name, so the demon comes rushing out, and Harry's like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? And, he's on the ground himself, and he's, Susan is just, she's only semi-conscious and all this, and he can't get to the thing. And here comes the demon, he goes, oh no. And he looks up, rain pelts him in the face, and he goes, oh, this is a bad idea. And he stands up, and he has his staff at this point, which he had grabbed while he was in the house, and he holds the staff up to the sky, and he puts his finger at the demon, and Susan barely, what are you doing? And Harry goes, you ever play that game when you were a kid? You linked hands with a lot of kids, and you all shuffled your feet, and then you shocked somebody really bad. She's like, yeah. He goes, well, that's what I'm doing. Only a lot bigger. So what he does is he, calls out a spell. He uses kind of quasi-Latin paraphrasing, which we learn later. Everyone has their own. And he brings lightning down, it strikes his staff like a conductor, and he directs the energy at the demon, basically expelling. Yeah. And of course, he's done. He falls over. Falls over, he's naked, it's wet. Susan is clearly just in her lovely gown, and the cops show up.
Yeah. So, at this point, we find out Linda's dead, and then Harry gets dragged in, or kind of dragged in, first to consult, but Murphy wants him to tell her how that happened and everything, and he's just having a very bad night.
He's having a very bad night. Worst of all, he had given Linda his card.
Yeah.
Because she was his contact to get back to Bianca.
So Murphy has
Harry's card, found at the scene.
Harry's card, yeah. So he's now kind of a suspect. After everybody leaves, somebody else kind of beats him up and steals a lock of his hair. He follows.
And that freaks him out. So that's a big scene. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's a big scene. Like, he gets, he's so tired and all this stuff, and so smacks him around, and then grabs a lock of his hair, cuts it off, and starts running. And he's like, oh. Because when you have any DNA sample, you can do stuff like make someone's heart explode from miles away. So Harry realizes, now I'm a target.
Yeah. So he basically follows this guy
using
magic to
Johnny Marcone.
To one of Marcone's clubs, the Varsity.
Which is hilarious because we're in Atlanta, and the Varsity is a cafe, I guess, fast food restaurant, mainly serves grease, but anyway.
Yeah. So there's a big scene there where he and Marcone face off, but then realizes that the guy working for Marcone was actually a double agent.
Marcone's not happy about it.
And Marcone's not happy, so end result is the Varsity gets burned down.
it's not arson.
Insurance. Yeah, so Marcone still gets the insurance from it, but...
Of course he does.
So there's issues there. But, so at this point, Dresden is at his lowest point. This is kind of the end of the second act in a normal 3-act structure where a character is at their lowest point, and usually they pull themselves up. What Dresden does is he basically goes back to Linda's apartment, and he's just phased, used up all of his magic, his brain is just shot, he has no leads whatsoever. And
the hair is gone. At some point the guy had passed the hair off to whoever.
Yeah, so he's still liable to be blowed up.
Yeah.
So he lies down in her apartment.
Not on the bed, because that's where all the blood is.
Yeah, so on the floor. And then he happens to look over and see a film canister under the bed, which is something he also saw
outside the
lake house, which ties both of his two investigations together. And then this is where he gets the big, the big moment, we get the triumphant return and we head off towards the third act. But it's weird because in this second act, lowest moment for the hero, it's really nothing of his doing that leads us or that builds him up again. It's just kind of an accident that he happens to see the right thing, which is kind of weird for a story. Again, this is Butcher's first book, and the books do get better. But that was something I was noticing, is that story structurally wise, it didn't completely flow. And like Dresden throughout this first book really doesn't grow at all as a character. Like,
he doesn't.
There's no character plot for him.
And I'll tell you what. In the first book, it wouldn't be terribly accurate to say that you like Dresden right off the bat. Because he's definitely stubborn. He can be very crotchety. I mean, he says, wizards are always grumpy. And it's like, that's kind of an excuse.
Yeah.
Later on, we meet other wizards who really aren't that grumpy. So it's like, you're grumpy. Granted, later on, we meet some of his family members down the line, and they're grumpy. So it must be a genetic thing. But so anyway, because you like Murphy.
Yeah.
You like Murphy, you actually kind of like Marcone. Like, he's a bad guy.
Marcone's definitely
great.
A character, a good bad guy character that you don't really root for because he's obviously evil.
Right.
But he's a good character that you don't mind continuing to read about.
Right. And, he's kind of cold calculating. You want to see what he does next. You like Murphy. I like Susan right off the bat. I mean, she's kind of this overly flirtatious person who uses that to her advantage
and of course,
to get what she wants.
Mac is always likable. He gets such little screen time and so few words, but it's packed with a lot of likability.
Because he's so direct and to the point, and just the way he reacts to things. Like when Harry's at his lowest moment, he goes to the tavern to his car. Again, mechanics don't work well around him. Electronic stuff breaks down at one point. He needs a car. So he goes, and the tavern at this point in time is totally packed full of lesser magical beings.
Because they all know something's going on.
They can feel this
and also,
storm coming.
At this point, Harry is a suspect to the police. Though
it looks like
Morgan is after him, so it's like he looks kind of terrible. The grapevine has him definitely being the bad guy at this point, and he walks in, and everybody's like,
everyone's quiet, everyone turns, and there's a silence. But not Mac. Mac was cleaning the counters, and he continues to clean the counters. Doesn't even look up. Harry's like, I need your car. He doesn't even look up. He just throws in the keys.
Yeah.
Doesn't even look. I mean, he really is. Again, he's a man of very little words. We don't really he doesn't get a lot of screen time, as Paul says. Screen time in his book. But you like Mac. You get the idea that he's seen a thing or two, and you kind of want to know.
He has a very stoic personality.
Very stoic.
It's hard, if not impossible, to phase him.
Right. Nothing seems to surprise him. Nothing seems to really evoke any sort of emotion. He's just like, yep, done. You know, that kind of stuff.
But you can also get a sense of his emotion as well in just the words he does choose to use, or like the eye motions or stuff like that.
Yeah. So, you definitely like Mac, but, you know, for Dresden, having read all the books that are currently out, you get to really know Dresden. You get to know what he's like, what's in his head, all this stuff, and you get to really, really like him. But in the first book, you kind of are unsure, because when he goes to confront Victor Sells is the bad guy. He goes to confront him, and before he enters into the lake house, he's, you know, nervous. He doesn't know, are there traps set? You know, are there guards I can't see or whatever? So he opens his third eye, which wizards can do. It's one of the first things they learn to control. They learn to control their third eye being open. So he opens his third eye to look at the house, to see what he can see with a capital S. And he sees so much dark magic. Yeah. All this black
skull
magic. Skull imagery, all this stuff, and it's pulsing with power that this guy is harnessing clumsily. Yeah. Because he's a big linebacker, big quarter or a fullback. You know, he's someone who's just big and brutish, but doesn't really have a lot of control. Yeah. So he's a big guy who could totally be a star athlete if he knew what he was doing. Yeah. So Harry sees all of this dark magic that he could control. He has the knowledge, he has the training, he could totally take it, and he's tempted. And he does want to. He's wearing his mom's pentacle and he feels the weight of it. You know, and it's just kind of, it's this little scene where it's like his mom's spirit is saying, I know this is what you want to do, but you know this is something you can't do, right? So, you know, he takes a step back, he breathes for a moment. So in that scene, we definitely see that dark magic is a huge temptation. Yeah. We're not sure if this is something that every wizard has to go through, but it's certainly something that is evident in Harry. And we already know that the White Council doesn't like him because, in their opinion, he's practiced black magic in the past. Right. So he's just like, you know, he's really taken aback by it, but you kind of see that it's a potential. So at the same time, you know, it's like, oh, it's great that he didn't take it, that he didn't try to strike out with it, because he could have just, with a thought, just burned the house to the ground, and whoever's inside be damned. You know, was kind of the idea of it. But he doesn't. He backs off and he doesn't take it, but the temptation is there. And it comes back. It comes back again and again in other books. The temptation is there, the temptation is there. And it makes him question himself, and you kind of question him too. Because it's like, do we really like this character? Yeah. Don't really know. He's definitely the hero of the books, but it's like, is he
though? So yeah, that's strong from final thoughts on the book.
It's the first one.
It is the first
one. I mean, having read the entire series, which we have. Yeah. I've read it once, Paul's read it twice. This is my second read of this book. It is a fun book. Yeah. To read. It's a great introduction to the world and to the many characters that we do see recurring. I highly enjoy it as someone who enjoys both mysteries and fantasy novels, and this is, as Paul said, like an urban fantasy. So it combines the idea of our real world, the world that we cannot see or is veiled. I think the idea of veils come in later. But it's a good start.
It is. For the first book, I can see why he basically got permission to keep going. Yeah. It's definitely a strong start. It could use a lot of help, but again, you know, first book.
It's the first book. As far as a whodunit, I think it's well done in terms of that. You know, again, if you pay attention, you can definitely figure out maybe even halfway through, if not 2/3 through, who did it. Yeah. Who's behind it all. You don't know how yet, but you can kind of yes, you know, they do hints about the storm and stuff like that. So it is a good...
It's good mystery.
Yeah, it is a good mystery. The writing could use maybe a little bit, because again, the plot holes that were mentioned, we don't see him pick up his pencil again. The water bottle goes through the
circle.
Goes through the circle. Well, how come the demon isn't allowed to go through the circle now? That kind of stuff.
Or how come the demon come into a table through the circle?
Right, because it did. Tried to throw a whole bunch of things through it, but couldn't. But maybe because Bob was a benign thing, wasn't violent. I don't know.
I feel like, I don't know. We'll get back to that later.
Yeah, we'll look at different books.
So, at this point of the episode, we would normally ask you to go to Yarn It Up or hashtag Yarn It All on Twitter. Show us how far you got. That's as far as I got.
I didn't get very far.
No.
I got one round.
You can connect to us both in the chat and at hashtag Yarn It All. Mm-hmm. We also have a Reddit, Reddit r/Yarn It All, which is basically there for you to share your projects with each other and comment on each other. And we also have r/SpinAYarn Live, which is where we might put up questions about the episode for direct episode discussions. Of course, who knows when this episode will actually go live.
I don't know.
Yeah, basically we're doing a few episodes in a row, and if you're seeing this, then you already know that we have episodes up. So keep watching. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, and if you're a Patreon, we thank you especially for that. We will get into, we do intend to do the entire series again. Hopefully by the time we get to the 15th book, there will at least be a release date for the 16th one. It's definitely a series that it blurs together.
It does.
I mean, each book, almost every book is kind of a whodunit, but sometimes it's not. But a highly recommended series. Yeah. As I say to a lot of people, it's a series about a gumshoe in Chicago who's also a wizard. Shenanigans ensue. And that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, so if you read this book for this episode and we're wondering about reading more, just go ahead and read the whole series.
Go ahead.
We will get to them all eventually because we do love this series.
We do. But as we put out videos that have to do with each book, again, no spoilers for what happens in the next book. Pretty please. Okay? Just stick to this one. This is the assignment, the one. Not reading ahead. Yeah. You can, just don't spoil anything. Alright. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for joining us. And we will see you next time.